5 alien warlords gathered inside the council's vast chamber, each towering in confidence, their voices carrying the weight of empires. The reptilian SSYDH commander slithered forward first, scales glistening under the station's artificial suns. "Behold the Tyranthus," he hissed, as the holoscreen erupted with the image of his dreadnought. It hung in space like a fortress forged from blackened steel, bristling with weapons capable of draining a star's energy. "One shot from its core cannon can rip the crust off a planet," he boasted, his fanged mouth curled in a smirk. The room rumbled with murmurs of awe, and the SSYDH's slit-pupiled eyes gleamed with smug pride. Not to be outdone, the insectoid Krivith Queen clicked her mandibles in amusement. "Size alone is meaningless," she rasped as she summoned the image of her hive ship. The screen filled with a sprawling nightmare, a living vessel that pulsed like an organic beast, birthing thousands of drones in perfect, ceaseless waves. Why destroy a planet when you can strip it to its bones and rebuild it in your image? My swarm never tires. It never ends. Her compound eyes glimmered with the certainty of superiority as several counselors shifted uneasily in their seats. A crystalline figure, tall and angular, stepped forward next. Admiral Varka's voice rang like clinking glass, melodic yet cold. Brute force is crude. Precision is art. The holoscreen shifted to reveal a glittering prism ship, its facets shimmering with refracted starlight. Our prismatic cores focus energy into beams capable of slicing through entire fleets like paper. Our weapons are elegance refined to perfection. The light danced across Varka's translucent body, as if the Admiral was already basking in the adoration of the chamber. Then came Torin, the wolf-like pack leader of the Torgar. His claws tapped against the floor as he growled. "Power is meaningless without strategy." A massive projection of a coordinated fleet filled the chamber, ships moving in perfect formation, each sleek and menacing. "We are not singular hunters. We are a pack. Every strike is coordinated, every prey outmatched. Our ambushes never fail. Victory is inevitable." His golden eyes flashed as he bared his teeth in a predator's grin. Finally, the cephalopodic strategist Zurok floated forward, tendrils weaving hypnotically as if conducting some unseen symphony. "Strategy without connection is flawed," Zurok said, voice resonating directly in the minds of those listening. The screen flickered to show an armada moving like a single organism, ships weaving through space as if anticipating every enemy move. "Our minds are one. Our fleet operates as a single thought. Against us, chaos collapses." The chamber erupted in self-satisfied laughter and applause. Each warlord stood proud, knowing they commanded the greatest ships the galaxy had ever seen. They had spent centuries waging wars, toppling rivals and cementing their dominance. To them, there was no higher demonstration of power than the ships they had just flaunted. Yet as the room quieted, a new figure stepped forward. Tall, composed, wearing a simple uniform with the insignia of a pale blue planet, Elias Grant, the representative of Earth, stood silent. The silence around him grew heavier. The other warlords watched him, their eyes glinting with condescension. "And what of your world, Terran?" SSYTH hissed, amusement dripping from every syllable. "Have you brought one of your rust buckets to show us?" Krivith let out a screeching laugh, her wings shivering with delight. Varka's crystalline form pulsed faintly with mockery, while Torin chuckled like a predator playing with easy prey. "Surely, your species has some crude, oversized cannon strapped to an engine," Zurok added, tendrils curling in amusement. Elias did not flinch. He merely offered a small, polite smile. "Humanity has a ship," he said calmly. His voice carried no arrogance, no dramatic flair. It was as if he had simply stated a fact. That quiet confidence seemed to bother them far more than any bluster could have. Laughter echoed across the chamber. The SSYTH commander coiled his long body tighter, clearly relishing the chance to humiliate Earth. "Very well, Terran. Show us this marvel you have brought. Let us see what your primitive world believes is a battleship." Murmurs rippled through the council. They all knew the so-called humans were new to the galactic stage. They had clawed their way into space barely a century ago. Compared to species that had waged wars for millennia, humanity was still learning to walk. To think they could build anything comparable to the dreadnoughts and hive ships before them was laughable. Yet Elias gave nothing away. He simply pressed a command into the console before him. The chamber's central holoscreen flickered, static briefly distorting the air. Then, an unfamiliar silhouette appeared in the void. It was small, absurdly so compared to Leviathan's just displayed. Sleek, dark, and unassuming, it looked more like a predator lurking in deep waters than a warship. No towering weapons rays, no sprawling hull bristling with cannons. It was utterly alien in its minimalism, almost quiet. The counselors tilted their heads, confused. Torin's grin widened. "That is it?" he barked in laughter. "A scout craft." Krivitha's mandibles clicked in mocking amusement. A fragile toy. But Elias's faint smile remained calm as ever. "We call her the Aegis Ascendant." He offered no further explanation, no boasts, no claims of grandeur, just a name. The warlords laughed louder now, voices echoing through the vast chamber. Yet in that laughter, a few counselors shifted uncomfortably. There was something in Elias's demeanor, an unsettling certainty. He did not defend the ship. He did not argue. He simply stood there, unshaken, as if he already knew how this would end. And then came the words that silenced the room. The council requested a demonstration. Elias said evenly, "Ours would not be in here." He stepped back from the console. "Clear the neutral zone outside the station," he continued, voice as steady as a blade poised to strike. "And watch closely. You wanted to see Earth's battleship. You will." The council approved the demonstration zone without hesitation, fully expecting to witness Earth's humiliation. Outside the station, a series of automated fleets materialized. Target drones, simulated warships, even an artificial asteroid field for testing destructive power. The 5 warlords stood on the observation deck, smug and confident as their own ships began their showcases. The first to move was the Taranthus. The colossal dreadnought aligned itself with the simulated asteroid field. Its main cannon glowed a blinding red, and in a single, thunderous shot, a planetoid-sized rock disintegrated into molten fragments. The chamber erupted in approving murmurs. SSYTH basked in the awe, hissing softly in pride. "One shot, one dead world," he said. Krivis stepped forward next. Her hive ship unfolded like a blooming nightmare, releasing endless swarms of drones. The tiny vessel surged forward in perfect formation, overwhelming the simulated fleets in a relentless tide. Within minutes, the battlefield was stripped bare. The Queen clicked her mandibles in satisfaction. "No planet survives the swarm," she said, her voice a rasping promise. Varka followed with his prism ship. The vessel rotated gracefully, absorbing the surrounding starlight until its facets glowed with violent intensity. In a single refracted blast, the beam sliced clean through an entire fleet, splitting ships apart with surgical precision. Varka's crystalline body pulsed in rhythm with the radiant weaponry. "Power without precision is wasteful," he said softly, certain no other species could rival such elegance. Torin's fleet moved next, breaking apart into hunting packs. The ships maneuvered through the battlefield like predators, striking simultaneously from multiple angles. Their coordinated ambushes left the simulation in flames. "Strategy is dominance," Torin growled, golden eyes burning. "Our prey never has a chance to fight back." Finally, Zurok's mind-linked armada surged forward. The ships moved as if they shared a single consciousness, weaving effortlessly through enemy fire and countering every attack with flawless timing. Within minutes, the simulated battlefield was utterly silent, their opponents annihilated with terrifying efficiency. "Unity is strength," Zurok said, tendrils curling with smug satisfaction. The chamber buzzed with approval. The alien warlords exchanged knowing glances, certain that Earth's turn would be little more than an embarrassing footnote. Elias Grant stood at the console, unshaken. He pressed a command, and far beyond the station, the Aegis Ascendant emerged from a fold in space, as if reality itself had been peeled back to let it through. The ship glided forward silently, its hull a seamless expanse of black alloy that seemed to drink in the light around it. No visible weapons, no massive cannons, nothing to suggest it was anything more than an advanced courier vessel. SSYTH let out a low hiss of amusement. That is what you bring. Krivitha's laughter clicked through the chamber like rattling bones. Even my smallest drones could shred that fragile toy. Elias said nothing. The ship remained still for a moment, suspended in the void like a predator waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Then it moved. The Aegis Ascendant didn't accelerate. It vanished. One moment it was there, the next it wasn't. Every sensor in the chamber scrambled to find it. Alien warlords barking commands at their aides. Then, as suddenly as it disappeared, it reappeared behind the simulated fleet, without any visible buildup. A single flash erupted from beneath its hull. Half the fleet disintegrated instantly, each ship torn apart by projectiles traveling at relativistic speeds. The counselor stared in stunned silence as the Aegis Ascendant flickered and warped again, repositioning faster than their ships could even track. Another volley fired. The remaining ships detonated in synchronized bursts of light. The entire demonstration lasted less than 6 seconds. No cheering followed. No applause. Only stunned silence. The warlords exchanged uneasy glances, their earlier arrogance faltering. The Aegis Ascendant drifted calmly through the debris field, every motion deliberate, every system quiet. It wasn't just powerful, it was efficient in a way none of them had ever seen. Then the ship did something none of them expected. It hacked the simulation grid itself. The display warped as the parameters of the battlefield shifted in real time. New fleets spawned, stronger, faster, smarter. The Aegis Ascendant annihilated them just as easily. For the first time, fear replaced arrogance in the eyes of the 5 warlords. The warlords leaned closer to the holoscreen as the Aegis Ascendant hovered silently, its black hull reflecting none of the surrounding light. There was no heat signature, no detectable engine output, nothing to betray its nature. It looked less like a ship and more like a shard of void carved into reality itself. Without warning, it vanished again, space folding around it like water down a drain. Alien sensors scrambled, failing to register any trace. Then it reappeared behind the artificial asteroid field, railguns already firing. The projectiles were invisible to naked eye, but the results were immediate. Asteroids shattered into vapor before they even seemed to be hit. The Taranthus had obliterated a planet-sized rock with one blast. The Aegis Ascendant vaporized the entire field in under a second without a single wasted shot. SSYTH's scales rippled uneasily as his golden eyes narrowed, the smugness draining from his face. Elias Grant still hadn't spoken. He didn't need to. The ship was doing all the talking. The holoscreen flickered as the simulation grid generated a new fleet. Heavily shielded warships designed to withstand the most devastating attacks. The Aegis Ascendant phased out again. When it reappeared, a narrow lance of distorted space extended from its bow. Ships didn't explode. They simply collapsed inward, crushed into fragments by a weapon that bent gravity itself. Krivith clicked her mandibles nervously. "It ignores shields," she muttered, disbelief breaking through her usual arrogance. The ship shifted again, movement so fluid and unpredictable that none of the alien fleet's tactical models could track it. It weaved through simulated fire like a phantom, every strike perfectly timed, every maneuver calculated beyond comprehension. Then came the most unsettling moment. The holoscreen glitched, and for a brief instant, the entire simulation froze. The Aegis Ascendant had infiltrated the grid, rewriting its parameters. The test fleet was no longer AI-controlled. It was being overridden, turned against itself. The alien warlord stared as the simulated enemy ships suddenly rotated in perfect formation, opening fire on one another. Varka's crystalline body pulsed erratically. The closest his kind came to panic. "It's controlling the battlefield," he whispered. The Aegis Ascendant struck again, this time deploying a weapon none of them could comprehend. A burst of gravitational distortion swept across the field, collapsing entire fleets into singularities before releasing them in silent explosions of light. No energy buildup, no detectable firing mechanism, just raw, impossible destruction. Torrens' claws dug into the console. His golden eyes, once gleaming with pride, now followed the ship with something close to fear. "No ship should move like that," he growled. "No species builds like that." The final demonstration was worse than the destruction. The Aegis Ascendant stopped moving entirely. A moment later, holographic projections of the 5 alien ships, the Dreadnought, the Hive ship, the Prism ship, the Coordinated Fleet, and the Mind-Linked Armada, appeared in the simulation. One by one, the Aegis Ascendant dismantled them. The Taranthus fell first, its armor pierced and reactor overloaded in under 2 seconds. The Hive ship followed, railgun projectiles shredding through layers of organic hull faster than drones could be spawned. The Prism ship's elegant, refracted beams scattered harmlessly as the human vessel warped space to bend light itself away from its hull. The Torgar fleet's coordinated strikes never landed. Every ambush predicted and countered before it happened. The Zurok Armada, famed for its perfect unity, found itself dismantled piece by piece, unable to anticipate an enemy that moved faster than thought. The chamber was silent. No one moved. When the last projection vanished, the battlefield was empty except for the Aegis Ascendant, floating silently in the void as if it had done nothing remarkable at all. For the first time, the 5 warlords realized they weren't witnessing a demonstration of power. They were being shown a warning. The silence in the chamber was suffocating. The 5 warlords, once towering with pride, now stood rigid, their gazes fixed on a lone black silhouette that drifted through the empty simulation field. The Aegis Ascendant did not circle triumphantly. It simply hovered motionless, as if daring anyone to speak. Elias Grant finally stepped forward. His voice was calm, measured, and utterly devoid of arrogance. This was our prototype. The word hit harder than any weapon. Prototype. A single murmur rippled through the council chamber. Varka's crystalline body flickered unevenly as he processed the statement. SSYH's tail lashed once, the only sign of his agitation. Krivith tilted her head slightly, mandibles parting in disbelief. Torin's claws tapped nervously against the metal floor, while Zurok's tendrils had gone perfectly still. You have seen its speed, Elias continued, its weapons, its systems. But what you have not seen, what you cannot see, is what humanity has built beyond this. His gaze swept across the room. We didn't design our ships to be monuments to power. We built them because history taught us one lesson over and over again. Never wait for a threat to grow before you're ready. His words were quiet, but they carried the weight of centuries of human conflict. While you flaunted your dreadnoughts and hive ships, we spent our time differently. We learned to fight smarter, to win without being seen, to end wars before they began. The holoscreen behind him displayed a brief image. Hundreds of black silhouettes like the Aegis Ascendant, all dormant, all waiting. The chamber erupted in hushed whispers. Even the most arrogant counselors now leaned back in their seats, expressions hardening with the slow realization of what this meant. Krivith finally found her voice, clicking her mandibles nervously. Why reveal this to us? Elias looked at her calmly. Because we don't need to boast. You asked to see our battleship. Now you know what happens if anyone decides Earth is weak. He stepped back, hands clasped neatly behind him. We do not build the biggest ships. We build the ones that end wars. No one replied. Even SSYH's golden eyes, once burning with mockery, now avoided Elias's gaze. Torin, once so confident in his pack's superiority, stood silent, muscles tense with unease. Elias pressed a final command into the console. Outside the station, the Aegis Ascendant began to vanish, reality bending around it until it simply wasn't there anymore. No flash, no roar, just silence, as if it had never existed at all. The representative turned back to the council. "Thank you for your time," he said evenly, as though the last 10 minutes hadn't just rewritten everything the galaxy thought it knew about humanity. No one stopped him as he left. Long after he was gone, the 5 warlords remained in the chamber, silent and still, the memory of the ship etched into their minds. For the first time, the greatest powers in the galaxy realized that the humans they had mocked as primitive were something far worse than they imagined, prepared, clever, and willing to fight wars that ended before anyone else even knew they'd begun. None of them spoke it aloud, but the same thought burned in each of their minds. Starting a war with Earth would be suicide.